Hi everyone, I'm Martin and welcome to Astronomy for Beginners. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm basically doing a do-it-yourself sort of guide where we're going to make something. One thing I have noticed is that for some of us that have mounted equipment over the years, buying different telescopes, different equipment that you do not use anymore, you start to build up a bit of a trash pile of unwanted items that you're never going to use. Today's guide, I'm basically going to make a dessicant cap. Now you'll be wondering why. Now this is something that's not always looked into closely into astronomy. A lot of the equipment that you buy, the telescopes, the cameras and all, it's very expensive. So to ensure you're wanting to make your equipment last longer, particularly when you're using your telescope and moisture's in the air, you get dew, you get the lenses start freezing up, and the cost of this, it creates a big problem actually. And what happens, especially with lenses and your telescope optical systems, is that as soon as you get moisture on there, usually you have to leave it to dry, put it in a warm room and let the optics dry out. Now sometimes it's not always the case. Now a lot of the guys will have telescopes set up in outside and observe, their own OPSI outside the garden, or like myself, I put my telescopes in a cold cellar. Now the biggest problem that you get is moisture. Now moisture is particularly bad for optical systems and telescopes and all that, is that as soon as moisture starts settling onto the lens, what will happen is that moisture, if it's trapped and doesn't allow to warm up or dissipate the heat, from the heat, you're going to get a problem with some of your optical systems going to get a fungus on the lens system. Now that's a big problem. As soon as you start getting mould in between the lens systems or whatever, it's going to basically, that mould is going to be very difficult to get off. Alright, extremely difficult to get off. And particularly with refractors and Maxitov Cassegrains and Schmidt Cassegrains, where you've got different lens elements and all that, and as soon as you get that fungus on there, it's really hard to get out. Now, you do have special lens cleaning kits that'll get rid of some of the stuff, but when you get it if you get this mould in between, like say the refractor, if it gets in between the flint glass and the crown glass, that's going to create problems. It means that you need to get someone specialised, take it to a specialised telescope engineer or technician to try and strip it apart and try and get rid of this mould. Now, however, with this guy in particular, is that I'm going to make something out of the equipment I'm not using. I hardly use it. It's mounted over the years, and there are certain ways you can do to prevent that from happening. And all it takes is just, as soon as you finish the telescope, you place this item onto the telescope and leave it. Bear in mind, just to let you warn off that with the dew and all that, it's always best to put it in a warm room and let it evaporate. Alright? If you've got dew on the lens or the mirror or whatever, let it settle in a warm room first before you put it back into storage. However, this device that I'm going to make is basically to prevent it further from happening. If moisture gets in the air and it gets into the lens system and all that, you're going to get some more problems. So this device will prevent as much of that. Basically, this cap, what I'm making, this dessicant cap, is that what it does is it'll use silica beads inside, and with the silica beads it will draw all the moisture out from the tube. It is a very particular bad problem. It's not really for reflectors as such, because the air always flows through it somehow. However, there's nothing stopping making this device for reflectors. Alright, it's preventive measures. You don't want any of this mould forming up on your telescopes. But usually for closed tube, like your maxi-top category, your refractors and your Schmitz, they have a problem. The air cannot see through. As soon as you get this moisture get inside, it's trapped. Now this moisture air will be trapped in the tube itself. So obviously we need to draw that moisture out of there. Alright? It's often overlooked. No one actually, it's not really well documented in a lot of forums or even on the internet. Alright? So it's really quite it is a big thing, but it's a small thing that can be eliminated quickly, and it will protect your equipment and last and serve your equipment for years and years on end. Right? It will last. Bear in mind, it does cost a little bit of money, but on my little DIY guide, I'm going to show you how to utilise some of the stuff you can make cheaply and effectively. The thing is, have you noticed that there are a lot of good astronomy shops out there, and on the website and all that, some web shops, they do sell these Dessicant caps. Bear in mind, yes, the Dessicant caps are quite well made. You know, all it is just a little tube, a cap that you screw on, you put your Dessicant beads in there, and you just put it in the telescope tube. Now you'll be wondering, well, okay, that's all it is. Well, they're all quite expensive. £35, £40 is quite expensive for something. Alright, it's just a little cap. You know, okay, it's well made and whatever. But what happens if you own a few more telescopes and you know, £35 each can mount up. You'll be spending up to about, you know, if I've got 3 telescopes for example, I'll be spending quite a bit of money. I mean £70 as it is just for 2 telescopes. So in theory there are ways you can do it cheaply. Alright, this is my sort of way. Alright, a simple sort of method that can be used quite well and utilise some of the equipment that you do not use. Alright, so basically I'm going to go over there now and I'm going to show you some of the stuff there, and we're actually going to make this little device. First off, this is what I meant about the problems. Now, this is what one of my trusty telescopes that I use for imaging. This is my 80mm Lunt ED refractor. This is what I use for doing a lot of imaging. End design. Basically, here is, I mean, you've got your objective lens here, right? Really good optics. Alright, if air and all that gets in there, any moisture or that is trapped. Alright, so even if you dry out the optics and then you put it into storage, the main problem is if any cold air or moisture gets in there, that's where the problem arises. Nothing can escape. So basically we're going to design a cap that fits into the 1.25 inch eyepiece holder. Alright, you can make a 2-inch eyepiece holder if you've got the right equipment. Alright, and basically you put this cap in there with the silica beads and to draw out all the moisture out and prevent this problem with this bad fungus and all that will sort of form up and maybe do costly repairs. See, over the years I've spent on quite a bit of equipment. I've got eyepiece holders, I've got webcam nose pieces, 1.25 caps, you know, quite a bit of equipment here, right? Loads of eyepiece dust caps that I don't use, alright? You'll get to this stage, you know, for some people who've got a lot of equipment, you'll probably find that all this equipment you're going to think, oh, there's no point in me having it, right? There's no point keeping it. But believe me, don't bin it, because you'll be surprised that there is always going to be something that you're going to use. 9 out of 10, you can find put good use to these. All right. So believe it or not, there are ways you can. So just keep them. All right. Just keep them. All right. One thing I have found is that good old 1.25 nose piece from webcam or a CCD. If you bought a lot of CCDs or whatever, you get a lot of these 1.25 nose pieces you get with them supplied. Alright, this is from a camera adapter, 1.25, it's got a decent amount of thread on there. Alright. Also, from time to time, you get if you bought eyepieces, and you get a lot of these plastic ones, right? These plastic ones, the clear plastic ones. Now, during time out of time, these start to wear out and they just pop off. They don't actually cure the eyepiece anymore. All right, don't bin them. Keep hold of them, all right, because they're going to serve a good purpose here. All right, and then last and not least is now this is a T2 female cap. It's basically just a dust cap. But one thing I have found out is, if you've got anyone looking around, they fit perfectly. Just screw that in there. Right, they fit perfectly on the 1.25 nose piece. Right, so it's a really good screw in there, a really good cap. Right, setting this hair tight as well. You're going to need a few tools. You're going to need a permanent marker, a modelling knife kit, super glue, an O-ring, silica beads, and a drill with a 2mm drill bit at the end. Right. Alternatively, you can use a dart. You know, if you play darts, you can use a dart to pierce the holes on the cap. So that's basically what I've done here. All right, as you can see here. All right, basically I've just used a marker pen. All right, used a marker pen, and I marked out all the positions of this of these holes. Okay, so I've used a marker pen. All right, and then I basically use a drill bit, 2mm drill bit, and drill to drill out all the holes. Okay, right, and that forms my cap. I found that it's a bit more secure if I put this cap onto the actual nose piece itself. Okay, you're going to notice that this cap, with this dust cap being in place, this is not going to go into the main telescope tube, which is a bit of a shame really, because of this outlining. Is you're going to get carefully cut along the cap itself, alright, so using the modelling knife. So you're going to have to be very careful, right, especially with your fingers, and basically you're going to cut all the way around that cap. Right. Okay, basically that just now is cut part. Now basically I've cut that, you can bin that away, and basically now what I've done was carefully, as I cut around there, right, I've not cut all the way through. Right, so basically now if it's a bit too big, alright, you can actually just trim it down. Alright, it has to be these sort of eyepiece caps, because they're quite easy to cut. Now if you start using any other sort of caps, they need to be these type, because it makes it easier for you to cut even with this blade. But if you've got one that's quite robust ones, then you might find it a bit difficult. So these type of caps are ideal. So you can cut them, you can shape them. Alright. So that means it's quite flexible plastic. Okay, so basically now you've got I just need to trim down the edges, sand them down a bit so they're nice and smooth. And basically what you've done now is that now here is I've just trimmed them off a bit. I'll just use to sand them down. Now this should be perfect to fit it into the eyepiece holder now, so you ain't gonna get it trapped and all that. Alright, but still not enough to I've not cut it too much, otherwise it'll just come and fall out through the other end. Alright, so that's what you want. Use a bit of super glue, and you're going to carefully glue the sides, either side, right? And then you're going to put the cap in place, like so. Alright, nice and tight. Not too much glue. Too much glue can be also a bad thing. Alright, so you don't need to put too much glue. Just carefully don't get in your hands. If you do get in your hands, just wash it off immediately. Okay, so now that's glued in place. Alright, I'm going to leave it to dry. Give it about half an hour and it should be cured. Your nose piece with your dessicant cap, and basically you're just going to check, see if there's no it's totally dried out. Obviously now it's all totally dried out. Alright, and you can see now I'm happy with it. It's actually quite hot, it held quite well, the glue. So basically what we're going to do now is do a quick check, is to make sure that the cap fits in. Alright, and there you go, it fits in. I'm happy with that. Okay, so just double check. If it doesn't fit quite in there, you just need to trim the edges and then it should be fine. Alright, you're going to need like an O-ring. Alright, so basically you're going to place the O-ring across like so. And there you go, it places the O-ring, and what you're doing is you're putting that O-ring on there, and it creates like an airtight seal, so you don't want any moisture to get in there or whatever. So you've got a nice little airtight seal. Okay, you want silica gel beads. Now you can get these from a lot of hardware stores or something like that, but basically get a silica gel beads, or you can either alternatively use the silica gel sachets in there, you can put in there. But I like these is because these change colour, so when they're fully depleted these will turn into a pale white. So get the ones that change colour. Alright, you can get them in astronomical shops, alright, but they do sell them. Alright, and you basically just pour the contents of the beads carefully, fill it up to the top, okay, alright, nice and filled up, okay, and then simply place your T2 dust cover over the top, and voila, you've now got yourself a dessicant cap, homemade, cost a couple of pence to make, bit of time and effort. Alright, but it beats them paying £35 or £40 for a dessicant cap. Right, this will work just as well as some of the more expensive ones. Alright, the good thing about this one is that I can, because of this clear opening here, I can see if the dessicant caps are depleted as well with a quick check. Alright, and then basically just put this cap. If your telescope is being outside, being used, alright, you've also ensured that it's dried out in a warm room so that the lens go clear, like so they're all going clear. And then you just basically, when you put it into storage, or when not in use, you basically put the cap into there, like so, and voila, screw it in there, make sure it's all nice and tight here, and there you go, you got yourself a homemade dessicant cap. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Alright, it's a nice DIY video. Please ask any questions regarding it. Alright, bear in mind you've got different ways of making a cap, but this one I found probably the simple ones to make. Nice, quick and effective. Alright, and he does the job. And thanks again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have clear skies.